INFP or INFJ. This is another slightly surprising one given how different they actually are, having zero cognitive functions in common. The confusion comes, understandably, because of the more general similarities between them. They are both introverts. They both have an intuitive function and a feeling function as their top two functions. They can often be in their own world, and they both, to an extent, devalue the sensory and devalue detached logic and organising. So how do you figure out which one you are? INFPs can feel lost and out of place in life, and INFJs can feel distant and detached from it. INFPs struggle to reconcile themselves with their position in society. They are plagued by the question of how to fit in. Where's my place? Why do I constantly feel so unable to exist comfortably in these systems and structures around me? That can be the conventional workplace or the school system, for example. There's a constant turmoil between their identity and the outside world. INFJs, on the other hand, are not going to have this so much. Having extroverted feeling as their second slot function means they can pretty seamlessly fit in with most groups of people and most organizations. Introverted intuition, extroverted feeling, and introverted thinking are an excellent group of functions in a row for analysing systems, especially systems involving people, and gradually mastering them. INFJs may be in fact so good with these things that their actual self will feel quite closed off from other people. It's like they put the spotlight onto other people, yet remain mysterious and elusive as a result. Although, of course, this is something that they actively choose to do. Any isolation or loneliness they experience as a result is an unintended byproduct. INFPs are likely to be misunderstood, whereas INFJs are likely to be not understood. There is a difference. People might be confused by an INFP's seemingly changeable nature, like a musician whose next album is completely different to their last album. And INFPs may feel towards other people like other people just don't get them. INFPs will struggle to explain the melting pot of feelings within them, as their extroverted intuition takes them to weird and wonderful places. INFJs, on the other hand, will struggle to let their guard down enough for other people to see the core of them, which may in fact be very different from the well-crafted and polished image that they project. So, do you more often feel like you didn't express yourself well, and that people didn't quite get the ideas or emotions you were trying to convey? Like your typical artist or musician whose work is constantly being misinterpreted by people? Or do you feel like your inner world is shut off from other people, and despite interacting with people often and being someone they confide in and trust greatly, you nonetheless feel like they don't actually know you that well, and that you are fundamentally mysterious to most people? Emotions. INFPs will feel many emotions either in a small time period or at the same time. It's a maelstrom or soup of feelings, and they'll be attuned to all of them. INFJs, on the other hand, can be quite out of touch with their own feelings, and if anything, can sometimes even have a feeling of hollowness, where they've used up all of their emotionality on other people, or have expressed it externally. Introverted intuition versus extroverted intuition. NI likes to narrow down and condense. It likes coming to conclusions. Once it's settled on something, it's very reluctant to take in new information. It likes having its known concepts and ideas. If there are two competing ideas or options, it will try and take one or the other. Generally, it's decisive. It wants to move forward. And to move forward, you need to pick a path. NE, on the other hand, is expansive. It likes to keep its options open. It can hold two ideas, even seemingly contradictory ideas, together at the same time. It doesn't feel compelled to make a decision, and as a result can be quite indecisive. If you're someone who is more likely to come to some kind of conclusion or decision and stick with it to the exclusion of other ideas or information and carry on down that path, even though you might be missing a lot of other options, that could be a sign that you're using NI. If you find it difficult to commit to one idea or one route and are constantly seeing many possibilities, like to be flexible and open, and are attracted to and seduced by new, exciting ideas and information, you could be using NE. Are you likely to be too dogmatic or too open-minded? Too stubborn or too flexible? INFJs are fundamentally interested in ideas, especially as it relates to human relationships. They seek understanding and knowledge, and are interested in figuring out the concepts and underlying principles behind what they see happening in the world. INFPs are fundamentally interested in values, in particular, their own personal values, beliefs, and individuality. They seek out different perspectives and experiences to further refine and develop these values. FI is a judging function and NI is a perceiving function, confusingly. So, if you were hanging out with an INFP or an INFJ and you were to express a strong view or opinion, the INFP is the one who is likely to openly state how they feel about what you've said, even if they strongly disagree with it. Their FI is about making value judgments on things. Do I like this or not? Is this thing good or not? The INFJ, on the other hand, is unlikely to come back at you with their emotional reaction, especially not to contradict you. I mean, unless they really dislike you. They're more likely going to want to understand your view or opinion first, because NI is about taking in this information and analysing it. An INFP will try to convince you by stating their views and directly opposing you, if necessary, in what can be a surprising departure from their usual calm and cuddly disposition. INFJs will listen and understand and analyse why you think the way you do and why that might make sense from your perspective. Then, if they want to, slowly persuade you to their point of view. INFPs are going to come across as more judgmental, not necessarily in the negative sense, but they're going to be upfront in expressing their views and values. If they disagree with something, they let you know. They are very similar to the INTP in this sense. Generally very chilled out, very non-aggressive, but when an INTP thinks that you're not making sense, they can be oddly forceful in correcting you. INFPs do that, except instead of with TI, they do it with FI. INFJs, on the other hand, are not really concerned with making those kinds of judgments. They can sit and talk with someone they happen to agree with, or someone they completely disagree with. But in both situations, they're going to be looking for the same thing, an exploration of ideas, where both parties will probably leave thinking that the INFJ is completely on the same page as them. So, for any type that is an introvert, it's likely that your first extroverted function is the one that most people are going to see from you in daily life, because it's outwardly focused. So an INFJ could actually come across as an ENFJ, because their extroverted feeling would be very noticeable to people. In the same way, an INFP could look like an ENFP, because people are seeing their extroverted intuition on display. So ask yourself, could you ever be mistaken for an ENFJ or an ENFP? A lot of people watching this may have come from the 16 personalities test and haven't looked into the cognitive functions. If so, well done for sitting through this video. But look into the cognitive functions and study them. Try and find at least one that you relate with. Because these types have no functions in common, that will already start to guide you in one direction or the other. If you're an INFJ and you haven't subscribed, then use your NI. If you enjoyed this video, then you wouldn't want to miss any videos in the future. If you're an INFP and you haven't subscribed, then make a value judgment. Did you like this video or not? Oh, come on. Tell me this isn't a likable face.